Alrighty, guys. Hello and welcome back to the show where we have once again ventured into uncharted territory, to the lands beyond reasonable thought, to the lands of insanity, to the land of beyond all reason. Which I was actually thinking about it today, and I don't know. I'm curious what the thought process was behind that name for the game. But either way, we've got the bumpin' soundtrack going right now. We've got a 1v1 going down your way today. This is the same map that I actually posted a couple of my 1v1 games, or I think one of my 1v1 games a while back. I'll try and remember to link that in the description. But that being said, before we introduce our players, this replay was sent to me. I like a lot of 1v1 games and I like bar replays as well. So if y'all get a chance, send me any replays. I need the specific SFDZ file. And that can be found locally on your device, or you can search the replay repository online to find it, download it, and send it to me that way. With that, let's go ahead and introduce our players. In the northern corner, playing as the Cortex. As of yet undecided what factory they're going to be building. We have Magix, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and he's getting his economy up and running before going for any factories. Down on the southern side, we have his opponent, which is Lopatka, and he's going first bots as the Armada, I believe, right? Yep, Armada, there we go. So, 1v1 map. Interesting map, and it would look like it's very choked off, but actually not for bots. For vehicles, it is, because they can't get over some of these ridges, but a lot of this stuff is traversable directly by the bots. So I would expect to see both players use bots pretty heavily, as Magix is actually getting his factory down right now, going for first bots as well from the Cortex. Getting some light laser towers up in his base as well to defend against any initial raids, and good thing that he's doing that because we do have a couple of ticks out from Lopatka. And Lopatka actually not taking the same defensive measures, seems to be purely focused on eco and unit production. Got some constructor bots coming out of his factory, first up on the list after those ticks. And Magic's doing something pretty similar. He's got some constructor bots now coming out. Both commanders moving their way out of the base. You can see the comm is actually able to just scale the side of this cliff. And yeah, going for this northern expansion with geothermal power, not hydrocarbon. So geothermal power instead. And Magic's getting a radar tower up on this ridge. This is another important thing. Difference in this game is radar's visibility is impacted by terrain, which is, you know, pretty realistic. That's how it works in the real world. So it's important to put these things up as high as it can go to get an accurate representation. So for instance, this tick probably it can probably be seen by the radar because I don't think this ridge is tall enough. So there's a lot of really cool terrain simulations that are being run in this game as well. As starting to see some of the first pawns, the light assault bots making their way out. And Lopatka actually electing to put his radar a little bit further forward than Magic's radar. But this to me looks like some early aggression that's going to be coming out of Lopatka. We do have a couple of grunts from Magic's able to respond, but only 3 versus the 5 pawns. Grunts do outrange the pawns. You can see that being shown off right there as they run up and down a sheer cliff. I'm curious on the health. So 300 health versus looks to be slightly under 300. So grunts might be a little bit more fragile, but definitely have longer range. Doesn't appear to be to the point of like the Aurora versus the Striker, but definitely still something that you can play around with as the Cortex. So we got our first kind of full-scale invasion here. Pawns cutting through the inferior numbers of grunts. We've actually got a stealthy reclaim and resurrection bot now coming out. But Lopatka needs to be paying a little bit closer attention to his units, as he's going to lose the last of his labs here. And actually going for some resurrections here. So another interesting thing about this game, you can resurrect units. But going for resurrections instead of reclaim there. As if we take a step back and look at overall economic exploitation, Magix seems to be lagging a little bit behind right now, my man. As Lopatka has already kind of expanded or at least gotten slight control over a lot of his perimeter resourcing options, and is going to work on getting his power grid set up in what I would think would be kind of a vulnerable point. But this ridge, very important to maintain control of this ridge on this map, as units can literally just run over this this other ridge. So very important to maintain control of that. Getting some heavy laser towers actually set up down there, so the beamer variety. Getting another one set up for good measure as Magic's marshaling his forces up here. Might be looking to get ready to make a move, although against the heavy laser towers I think that would be ill-advisable, as he gets some of his own defensive emplacements up. But the grunts are making a move now into the heavy laser towers, and yeah, that push is going to be rebuffed by a combination of light assault bots and the heavy laser towers that are here for Lopatka. I'm really hoping I'm pronouncing both of these names correctly. And one thing I did learn from yeah, if you're interested in going, like I said, I'll link the game that I played on this map down in the description below. That was against Master Bell, who was kind enough to put up with my idiotic moves in this game. But one thing that he did impress upon me that is kind of driven by, I think, the time to kill structures. So overall time to kill structures is pretty low in this game, I think. So map control, not necessarily accomplished by just building resourcing options, and accomplished much more by units. So you can see here we've got Lopatka shadowing this little army as Magix is looking to potentially make a move in, but rebuffed by light laser towers built by Lopatka on this ridge. As we have an armed metal extractor actually going up there for Magix, so taking advantage of some of the factional differences, not needing to fortify his position with light laser towers, as Lopatka makes a move with his pawns, but underestimated, I think, the numbers here. Although this is going to turn out to be something of a wash as the grunts move a little bit too far forward. Take a lot of fire from the light laser towers, and that's going to mean that a lot of these grunts very heavily damaged, even though Lopatka did lose a good number more of his units. We're actually going for more resurrections here from Lopatka, getting some more grunts resurrected, so looking to reduce, reuse, and recycle as much as he possibly can, instead of throwing more units into the meat grinder. As Lopatka getting some more energy up. The player that we are viewing right now, I believe, as far as eco, is Magix. Yeah, so you can see his eco right now. Energy, a little bit of a problem for him. As we start seeing our first thugs, the light plasma bots, popping up on the screen, and you'll see his energy fluctuate up and down due to the wind strength. Other little cool elements of realism. And Lopatka doing pretty good on the energy front at this point. Even going for some energy converters. Much more efficient in this game. You can see it costs 70 energy to run. Turns into 1 metal. Pretty sure that's far superior to the energy converters that are in Forge Alliance Forever. A little bit of a quiet time in the game. Right as I say that, thugs start moving in on some of the pawns down here, as well as the resourcing options here for Lopatka. I'll be able to deal with those pawns, no trouble at all, but these beamers blocking off this side of the map a little bit more. You can see those armed metal extractors being put to work as Magic's trying to repair that sentry tower, make sure that it stays up and online. And the maces are going to end up being similarly rebuffed, but he is going to lose that heavy, twin guard. That's right, that's what they're called. So not a beamer, but kind of like a double light laser tower. As on the southern side of the map, trying to probe and make an assault, but Lopatka has continued to reinforce his position down here. And starting to see some construction turrets and a little bit more prioritization here into unit production. As it looks like he's just continuously producing grunts right now, so not building any more thugs. Although aggravators might be a good thing to mix in here, as those are kind of your light artillery, able to outrange a lot of the early on defensive structures, so that could definitely help him in breaking some of these defensive lines, as you kind of see both of these players playing around the defensive structures quite a bit, which is pretty common in this game. Yeah, a little bit of downtime in this game right now. Just got back from having dinner with my dad. My dad lives about 15 miles south of me, so you know, I went and had Mexican food. That's has anybody noticed, like, I don't know, maybe it's just like whenever I was swimming I would just eat everything in sight, but now that I've kind of stopped swimming, like the portion sizes at a lot of these restaurants just seems to be absolutely huge. I don't know, am I the only one that thinks that? Because I ordered fajitas for one and I think I ate less than half of it and then took the rest of it home. But yeah, beef fajitas, definitely good. Probably have the rest of those for lunch tomorrow, as we're actually getting aircraft. So we have some light gunships now coming out from Lopatka, who has shut down his bot lab and is now prioritizing air. So that's going to force Magix to do one of two things here. He's either going to have to get into the air himself, or he's going to have to start mixing in some, I forget what they're called, the Trasher. Yeah, Trasher anti-air bots into his mix, lest he suffer. The comm is able to be used in an anti-air function. Actually, I think a lot of units do have the ability to shoot upward, but they're not very good at it. As we're starting to see some aggravators coming out now, so starting to lay siege to these defensive structures. Grunts trying to brute force their way through. They will successfully take out a lot of these structures. And that's where you see the gunships start to pirouette, and there's actually quite a lot more gunships in that stack than I thought there were. And with this many gunships, Lopatka might be able to just wrap up this game right now, as Magic's commander not in a great spot. There's not a whole lot of AA around him. I don't see any static AA emplacements built out just yet. Might want to get on that, because even the Tech 1 AA does a pretty good job, but Lopatka positioning his gunships actually more towards the north. Start taking out some of these resourcing options, as well as the constructor bots that are actually trying to get some static AA defenses up right now, but they will be unsuccessful. So we'll see what the plan here is for Magix to deal with this. He's starting to get some thistles up. That's funny, that's the name of an AA unit in Supreme Commander. The Aeon Tech 1 Mobile. It's also called the Thistle. Funny our world, isn't it? No mobile AA though. Still working with just aggravators as well as thugs. But in range of the Thistle up here in the north, it's going to cause these gunships to at least be a little bit more judicious as far as their placement. As you can see, Lopatka moving them outside of the range of that anti-aircraft tower, but these resourcing options still pretty vulnerable. It should be able to laser down these laser turrets pretty quickly. You can see them absolutely just chewing through. This is what I meant kind of on the time to kill buildings. It just seems really, really fast. But we got some mobile AA bots now coming out. It's going to be 4, 5, 6 of them. So Magic's going into full AA production here. It's going to cause Lopatka to lose good amount of his gunships there, as he has shut down his aircraft plant now and has gone back into the bot production. Getting a little bit too crazy with his commander, dropping down to 880 HP there as he tries to push that twin guard laser tower. And Lopatka going to continue using these gunships. These poor constructors just really having a problem getting AA up in this area. It's going to cost Magic's another couple of construction bots, but overall across the map, Magic's still able to hit back with a combination of thugs and aggravators. And he does have the trashers back in reverse just in case those gunships come back in. But that is going to be the last gunship just now dealt with as reclaim bots start making their way out towards the east there to start scooping up some of those wreckages, and actually just going to go and try and revive these constructors. So reduce, reuse, recycle. But push isn't over. Lopatka, far superior number of units here. Magix needs to be careful. He's about to lose most of his army if he's not careful, and lose it. It looks like he will. I feel like I just talked like Yoda there. Lopatka's like, nice units you have. Grind them to powder, I will. Is that offensive? Able to break through some defensive structures, and I think picked up a mass extractor here, or metal extractor, sorry. But unable to penetrate a whole lot further as we're 16 minutes in. Lopatka heavily utilizing these energy converters, and I'm not really seeing any energy converters. There are a couple here that are dotted around for Magix. 3, but nowhere near to the scale of Lopatka. And Lopatka just by and large seems to be holding on to the resourcing options just a little bit better than Magix. Well, I say that. It's really just this corner that's given Magix some trouble. It still has to build AA down here though. What if I did an entire cast like Yoda? I don't even know how I would do my intro. Like my standard intro is, alrighty guys, welcome back to the show. Would that be like, the show guys, welcome back to the... Alright, it was not a very well thought out plan. As Magic's gonna lose these metal extractors once again, this time due to land forces. And he's under pressure on this side as well. The extra metal income really starting to show here for Lopatka as just able to get more units into the field faster. That's going to be 3 metal extractors down up here in the north, 1, 2 down here in the south. That is not an insignificant amount of metal down there for Magix. As you can see, Lopatka having trouble spending his metal. Actually, this is Magix. Magix is actually having trouble spending his metal. Seems a little bit weird, but hello, we got a little run by down here. Getting into Lopatka's base. It'd be really nice if that grunt was able to kill that energy converter, but he's not going to be able to pull it off. Magix, I think, striking back here, though. Starting to go resurrect all of his dead units once again. Is this actually... because they have to repair them after the fact. So it's costing energy. But it looks like the actual repair is free. So that's pretty cool. So we got another push now coming in from Lopatka. Maces in the middle, clubbing down some of the defensive structures. Grunts surrounding them, though. It's causing the Maces to have some friendly fire issues. But even still, Mace's performing pretty well here as they start going after one of the AA missile batteries, but Grunt's now being brought in to finish the job. Guess what that means? That means more resurrections, and the bots are on their way. Unfortunately, they're going to run into a lot of hammers. Or maces. Now, those maces do not look kindly upon the necromancy of Magix. But Magix taking some fire on his commander. He does have AA units back here. I don't think there's enough gunships to be able to bring him down. Might be enough maces, though, if they all focus in on the comm, but not actually going to do that. Mace is actually going to shift north. Taking out a lot of mobile AA on their way. Things are not looking good for Magix here. As he is bleeding units. He's going to lose another metal extractor. This time of the armed variety. So I think this push has done a pretty good job, but I believe it is going to end here with the light laser tower as well as the grunts now fully in swing. That's a double vetted light laser tower, by the way, but and Magix once again relying on necromancy. It is necromancy, right? Resurrection of the dead. I think that's necromancy. If I'm wrong, it wouldn't be the first time. But resurrecting all of these units, so now he's got his own armada attack. As gunships trying to get an opening again, but Magic's not going to fall for the same trick the fourth time. And it's got quite a bit of AA and mobile AA dotted around the map at this point. As let's see what the next move here is for Lopatka. He has reactivated his air factory, but going for construction bots instead, or construction aircraft, apologies. Eco-wise, though, still in a good spot. Having trouble spending his metal, though. Might be a good time to start thinking about going to Tech 2. And he's actually getting some construction turrets down to help with the ability to spend that metal, but might not be a bad time to start thinking about transitioning to Tech 2, getting some hounds out into the mix. Really upping the pressure here on Lopatka, or Magix. This Magix is just getting a whole new army. I wonder if he's having to manually click these, or if there's like a group kind of, if there's like a group resurrect button like there is for, or yeah, an area resurrect button like there is for area reclaim. That is one thing I do like in this game is instead of like attack, move, or patrol, you like draw a circle and it tells you how much reclaim there is in it and allows you to go get it. But army now making its way down to Lopatka's commander here. Does have some defensive structures, and there are some units that are here on the way, but there is a lot more coming in from Magix, and Lopatka is going to have to get his comm the F out of the air. These are actually Centurions, though. They are not the plasma bots. Centurions can take a pretty good punishment, pretty good amount of punishment, but do need to get in closer, so the mace is going to be kiting away. This is literally just like Lopatka's army here. That's just been resurrected. There is not a single Cortex unit in this mix. That is some wacky stuff. Yeah, I see no Cortex units. Only Armada units. That's got to feel weird there for Lopatka, as he's like, hey, wait a minute. I thought I was playing against the Cortex. Like, Cortex units that are out here are the resurrection bots. They're about to go resurrect a bunch of Centurions, too. Just to add that to Magic's list of tricks that he's pulled out of his hat here. But now the stolen Armada army. The stolen Armada. That's not really an armada. It's not ships. Now making their way down to the south in a more threatening position. Take out a light laser tower, but not going to stick around for the rest of the party. As we finally have some actual Cortex units here, we have a singular thug. The Mace is opening up fire on the Centurion and Mace mix out of Lopatka here. Lopatka having trouble, I think, getting in close enough to deal with these maces, as Lopatka figured out how to spend all of his mass, and he's actually going for Tech 2 Air. So that's the play for him. So he's making that jump to Tech 2 Air. Let's check in with Magix, still just rolling with the bots. You know, I mean, it's gotten him this far. It's gotten him an entirely stolen army, too. Playing a little cat and mouse game here. Really what Magix needs to do is bait Lopatka into taking a fight outside of his defensive structure so that then he can steal a bunch more units. Now we got a lightning turret coming out, so construction aircraft out from Lopatka. Still working on that Tech 2 aircraft plant. You can see him stalling out on metal pretty hard. Lightning turret should be able to help from a defensive perspective. There's some reclaim here you could also grab to help him out with that. Help him out with building that Tech 2 aircraft factory. So interesting how there's different strategies here. I don't feel like I see air very much in Beyond All Reason. Near so as much as in FAF. Magic's making a move down towards the south with his units. Going to dislodge this position. He has gotten control of his northeastern corner now. He'll be able to chew through the beamer, just kind of overwhelm it. These maces, Lopatka needs to be concerned now with this army, because this army can vaporize his base in mere seconds, as Tech 2 Air is now out on the field. It looks like a gunship coming out, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep, so we got a couple of roughneck gunships, which have some banging models and animations. That is really cool. They're like circles and then fold out. I like that. That's pretty dope. But Lopatka has now moved his units to intercept. And we actually have a Cortex army here. Well, partially Cortex. We got Aggravators, Thugs, and Maces. And Lopatka having to split his attention here between two theaters. And I think both of these would be disastrous if he lost either base. As you're going to start to see this power grid go pop. Gunships being deployed down here to deal with the advancing Maces. Mace is trying to fire off as you see the volatility of these buildings. The entire northern section of Lopatka's base goes up in smoke, and I think these maces are going to deal the crushing blow here as they get into range of some sensitive buildings, and that is a large portion of his power, all of his mass conversion capabilities, and really the rest of his eco. Lopatka, the only eco that he has left to his name is 2 metal extractors and 2 wind generators. So air not enough to stem the tide, and Now these air units going to run into all the mobile AA, and there is enough, even though it's Tech 1, to cause some serious problems for these gunships as they start hurtling out of the sky. And Lopatka, I believe, has marshaled his forces and is going to march on the black gate that is Magic Space. So we have plasma artillery that has now been added into this mix in addition to the swarm towers. And Lopatka's commander, not long for this world anymore. Down he goes. Good game, well played. Really interesting game. I enjoyed the different strategies and approaches of both of the players. One player's strategy was to make units, and the other player's strategy was to steal those units. But anyway, great game. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.